Hello everyone. In today's story, CEO Tuan, after a long time working away in the city, has finally returned to his hometown with a special gift for Hana. It is not just a new smartphone, but also a symbol of care and a way for them to stay connected and bridge the distance between them. Hana is deeply surprised and happy when she receives the gift, but behind that joy are deeper emotions. She truly appreciates CEO Tuan's kindness, yet also feels a little confused, not knowing how she could ever repay such a meaningful gesture. The story unfolds into a gentle yet emotional journey about connection, gratitude, and subtle feelings between two people. If you enjoy touching, romantic, and emotional stories like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and share the video to support us. Your support is our motivation to bring you even more beautiful stories in the future. Thank you for watching. After many months of living and working far away in the busy city, CEO Tuan finally made the decision to return to his hometown. The journey back felt longer than usual, not because of distance, but because of the emotions building inside him. As the car slowly moved along the familiar rural roads, memories from the past quietly returned. The green rice fields, the small village paths, and the peaceful atmosphere all reminded him of a simpler life he had almost forgotten in the rush of the city. But more than anything else, his thoughts kept drifting toward Hana. Hana had become an important part of his life in a way he had not fully realized until he was far away. During his time in the city, his days were filled with meetings, responsibilities, and endless work. Yet in the quiet moments of the night, when everything slowed down, he would often think about her. He wondered if she was eating well, if she was smiling, or if she ever felt lonely without hearing from him. These thoughts stayed with him more than he expected, growing stronger with each passing day. That was when he realized that distance was not just physical, it also created an emotional gap he no longer wanted to ignore. When he finally arrived in the village, the air felt fresher, softer, and strangely comforting. The familiar surroundings made him feel grounded again, but his heart was still restless until he saw her. And then, at last, Hana appeared. The moment their eyes met, everything else seemed to fade into the background. The noise of the world disappeared, leaving only the quiet connection between them. There was no need for dramatic words or loud expressions. The silence itself carried meaning. CEO Tuan slowly walked closer to her, his expression calm but warm. He did not rush the moment, as if he wanted to fully take in her presence after so long apart. Hana stood there, slightly surprised but clearly happy to see him. There was a gentle softness in her eyes, a mix of curiosity and emotion that she could not hide. Tuan noticed it immediately, and it made him even more certain about what he wanted to do. Without saying much, he reached into his pocket and carefully took out a small box. It was simple in appearance, but he held it with quiet intention. Hana watched closely, her attention fully focused on him. When he opened the box and revealed a brand new smartphone inside, she froze for a moment, unsure how to react. Tuan then spoke in a calm and steady voice, explaining that this was his way of making sure they could stay connected no matter the distance between them. He said it gently, but his words carried sincerity and thoughtfulness. In that moment, the atmosphere between them changed. It was no longer just a meeting after a long time apart, it became something deeper, something that hinted at care, connection, and a growing bond that neither of them fully put into words yet. Hana stood completely still for a moment, her eyes widening as she looked down at the small gift in her hands. It felt unreal, almost as if time had paused just for her in that exact instant. The box was simple, yet it carried a weight she could not immediately understand. Slowly, she lifted the phone out with careful hands, almost afraid that any sudden movement might break the fragile emotion building inside her chest. The surface of the device was smooth and new, reflecting a faint glow under the light, but what truly overwhelmed her was not the object itself, it was the meaning behind it. She could still hear CEO Tuan's calm voice in her mind, telling her that from now on, they would not have to endure long silence or endless waiting anymore. Those words echoed again and again, settling deep into her heart like a quiet promise she did not expect to receive. As she continued to hold the phone, memories began to rise gently in her mind. She remembered the long days when she would look at her old, silent device, hoping for even a short message from him. She remembered the quiet evenings when she would sit near the window, wondering what he was doing in the city, whether he was tired, whether he had eaten properly, or whether he ever thought of her in between his busy schedule. At times, she would tell herself to be patient, to understand his responsibilities, but there were nights when loneliness still found its way into her thoughts. Now, standing here with this new phone in her hands, all those moments seemed to shift into something softer, something less painful. It was as if the distance between them had suddenly become smaller, more manageable, more hopeful. Hana's fingers gently traced the edge of the phone, and a faint smile slowly formed on her lips. It was not a loud or excited smile at first, but something quiet and deeply emotional, like a wave of warmth spreading through her. She could feel her heart beating a little faster, not out of confusion, but out of a growing sense of gratitude she could not easily express. To others, it might have been just a modern device, something ordinary and replaceable, but to her, it represented attention, care, and a silent understanding from someone who mattered deeply to her. The idea that CEO Tuan had thought of her even while being far away made her chest feel tight in the most gentle way possible. She lifted her gaze briefly, glancing at him, and in that moment she saw something in his expression that made her even more emotional, calmness mixed with sincerity, as if this gift was given without hesitation or expectation. That realization made her feel both happy and slightly overwhelmed. Hana lowered her eyes again, holding the phone closer to her chest as if trying to process everything at once. The world around her seemed quieter now, softer somehow, as though everything had narrowed down to just this single moment between them. And within that silence, her gratitude grew stronger, deeper, and more complicated than she could put into words, leaving her both touched and uncertain about what she could ever do to return such kindness. As the first wave of excitement slowly faded, Hana began to feel a deeper, more complicated emotion settling inside her. She still held the new phone tightly in her hands, but now it felt heavier, not because of its physical weight, but because of what it represented. The joy of receiving such a thoughtful gift was still there, yet it was now mixed with a quiet sense of uncertainty. She lowered her gaze slightly, staring at the screen that had not even been turned on yet, as if searching for answers within it. In her heart, she knew this was not just an ordinary present. It was a gesture from CEO Tuan that carried care, attention, and a level of sincerity she had never experienced in such a direct way before. Hana's thoughts became more reflective. She began to wonder about the value of what she had just received, not in terms of money, but in terms of meaning. To her, this gift symbolized trust and connection, something she had not expected to receive so openly. The more she thought about it, the more she felt a soft pressure building inside her chest. She was happy, truly happy, but at the same time, she could not ignore the feeling that she might not deserve such kindness. Her life had always been simple, and she was used to giving small things in return for even smaller gestures. But this was different. This felt too meaningful, too significant, and too personal. She shifted her weight slightly, her fingers still resting gently on the phone. Her mind wandered through possible ways she could repay him. Could she give him something material in return? No, nothing she had could compare. Could she express her gratitude through actions? Perhaps, but even that felt insufficient. The more she tried to find an answer, the more she realized that some things could not be balanced or measured. Her emotions became tangled, gratitude on one side, and quiet hesitation on the other. It was a strange feeling of being both uplifted and slightly overwhelmed at the same time. Hana finally lifted her eyes toward CEO Tuan. He was standing calmly in front of her, as if nothing extraordinary had happened, as if giving her such a meaningful gift was the most natural thing in the world. That calmness only made her emotions more intense. She felt a small ache in her chest, not from sadness, but from the depth of what she was feeling. She wanted to say something meaningful, something that could properly express everything inside her, but words suddenly felt insufficient. Anything she could think of seemed too small compared to the kindness she had just received. Her lips parted slightly, and after a brief hesitation, she spoke in a soft, uncertain voice. She admitted that she did not know how she could ever repay him. The words were simple, but they carried everything she could not say out loud: her gratitude, her confusion, her respect, and her growing emotional connection to him. As soon as she said it, she lowered her gaze again, almost shyly, as if afraid of revealing too much of her feelings. Yet deep inside, she understood something important was beginning to form between them, something that could not be easily defined or repaid with simple